So hello and welcome to MyWhoosh to the Sunday Race Club to qualifier race number 3 in our women's race on the 17th of July 2022. It's great to be back away last week supporting some of the national youth championships here in the UK. And I've got to say a big thank you to all of the team covering whilst we're out and supporting another event. And speaking of anyway, another event, don't forget, of course, the gang from MyWhoosh at Eurobike at the moment down in the hall. So make sure you jump in, catch up with them as well, because they are really busy and been really great to see that stand there and all of the people taking part, jumping on, trying to win a bike. And of course, seeing the ADQ UAE Emirates team, and of course the men's and women's teams of riders that are there supporting it. So a big thank you to them as well. We've got some great racing in store today. We're going to head on to a slightly different course to some of the ones you maybe seen before. This is at the Tel Marib course, a circuit that goes in a clockwise direction for those of you old enough to remember non-digits, and it runs around. So from our start line, it really is a course, a lap of two halves. The first 9 kilometers is hilly. It's got big climbs, 13% plus in there. And of the 574 meters in total, each lap has a elevation of 287, of which just under 260 are in the first half of the lap. And that shows you just how brutal that first half of the lap is. We then drop down in the second half of the lap as you come around the bottom of the course, and then a climb back round on our map is actually pretty much pancake flat, 29 meters, just under 30 meters in the last half of the course, just under 260 in the first half of the course. Our riders will cover 2 laps of the 17.95 distance to give us 35.9k distance in total. So really interesting course, some great graphics, some great climbs in there. It's going to be very testing, and we're going to have a fast finish. That means our teams have got to get it together. If you haven't watched the men's race, make sure you go back and watch. The question is, which of our teams are going to be taking control? Last time in our qualifiers, we saw a real mix-up with our teams, and they really did battle it out. The Strong Girls squad were good. They were the 4th team in the team competition last time around. The squad, though, 2nd overall in that team competition, the best result. Great to see them out there. Their team led by Gallagher, absolutely flying with Smithers in the support. Don't discount the sponsor riders. They don't have enough to make up the team competition. But of course, all of these teams, including the Toyota Cryo RDT squad, are going to be back out. You can't discount the Colombianas at any point. Jojo Bauer, regular race winner, regular finals winner, is in the mix, as is in category 1, Rebecca Gilson, proven in the first of our qualifiers as we come in. Into category 2, great team riding here by the teams, because the strong women's team in team 2 was actually the strongest overall qualifier out, beating and scalping those top category 1 teams. It means they've got to be watched out for. Great riding by Sanchez and Julie Sanchez, Jenny Sanchez, and Angie Parrott. And then racing again with Julie Sanchez, their highest qualifier last time, in 3rd place. Got to watch out, though, Slam Bike Shop as well. The Team LT Cycle Zone, the Tri Women, there was 5th last time out. Team Fitness 10 without full squad, but Eleni Reynard is definitely a top 10 rider to watch, as is our individual rider, Golden Light, 10th place last time out. So let's see riders. And of course, our category 3 riders follow those on as well. And that is the base category that we start off with. More individual riders in here, but some strong squads again. With last time out, the Cycle Zone ladies team coming in 6th place overall, and the Cycle Hub coming in 7th place overall. So great to see that they're so strong. But watch out, Team RT as ladies riders. Will it be Zabala in there? We've got individuals like Noor Al Lahawi. Will she be able to take control of the race? So category 3, base level, mid level, top of the tier, category 1. But we've seen mixes, and we've seen riders scalping the riders who are in the higher categories before. The question, you go out onto they be able to take it away. We're on 10 seconds to the start. We're in on that start line. A really good mix. Blue category, remember, is third category riders. Green is for our second category. The first category riders in that yellow getting a fantastic start here. There's this bunch of heads out from the start line. 2 full laps. Each lap 17.5k. So who's going to get the quick start? Who's going to get the fast move? Looks like Dijkstra has gone very, very quickly off from the start here. I think it is Carla Leonor who had the biggest, the fastest jump of everybody off from the start there. The category 3 rider blasting out with the blocks. So we are currently about half a k in that lead group start. Things. If you look at the top right hand side of your app, you'll see those multicolored dots. They are our riders out on course. So the left hand side of your screen has our power numbers. The right hand side of the map, our riders though dead center as they make the way up from race start. Really interesting to see just how hard they are pushing start here. And interestingly, still got a number of third category riders in with our race leaders. Really good to see that the third category riders are in there and mixing it up as well. Now, 2 screens showing you, which means that we can see simultaneously riders at different points on the course. You can see our leaders on the right hand side, and you can just see them on the left hand screen. But these are the chasers behind. So in with Maria in. So at the moment, that leading group looks to be about 25 riders strong. The chase is coming behind. Will they be able to close them down? Has anybody been caught out? Seen some very, very familiar. So lead group, Jojo Bauer in there, Rebecca Gilson in there, Marlene Bjerhed, our winner, taking top spot, less time out. The question is, will Bjerhed be able to repeat the win of qualifier number 2? Will it be Gilson who took the winning qualifier number 1? They're all up and in that leading pack. Catherine Fuhr in as well. So we have Madana Dagamashandi. So Madana trying to squeeze back to get up to that leading group. She's lost about 600 meters of ground at the moment with the category 1 rider who is all to be reliant. Tough performance for the Strong Girls squad is looking to try and get back in touch. She's got Sora Geraldo in front, and if they work together, that will mean that they've got a chance to try and close that gap down on the left of the screen, but on the right of your screen, leading this group along at the front of the race and looking incredibly strong indeed. So the big question for me is, who is going to take that victory? Will it be a Bjerhed? And will we see a big group coming in? This first half is brutal. We've not seen the massive gradient come a little bit late through, but we're just watching Erin Poulton on her way through here, and Erin riding well at the moment. She's sitting in the leading group, 2.3 watts per Erin at the moment. No pedal cadence there, and that pedal cadence currently holding at about 90 revs per minute. So keeping it smooth and trying to rely on fitness rather than strength. Remember, if you are strong and powerful, you can soon burn the energy out by pushing too big a gear. But we've seen riders like Ford, like Gilson, who we just saw, keeping those revs high, 100 revs per minute. Just using that fitness to keep it nice and smooth, and using the gearing on the bike to work their way up and through the course. So Poulton at the moment, 161 beats for Erin as she goes up there. So sitting just over the 160 mark, just under 90 revs per minute. You see the numbers on the left-hand side as Erin tries to surf the wheels here and stay in the draft. If the big watts numbers are sitting in there in black, it means they're not picking up any draft. If they go to green, they're sitting in the draft. They're saving energy, and that is really critical, because if you can save energy, then you will find yourself much, much more in control later, because you're not on the limit. It's very easy to be smooth and to make it look good as you're riding along and you're underneath your top limit. Once you hit that, it's known as an FTP, generally things start to get ragged. Some riders are able to keep it smooth more than others, but push too far and it all starts to get a little bit scary and starts to go a bit. Now, interesting to see that some of these riders are not happy with the pace here. We're seeing Catherine Foer just trying to push on here a little bit. I think she wants to pick the pace up. The Spartan Obstacles rider likes the pace nice and high. She's aware there's a big group of riders there, and I think Foer is going to try and distance some of these riders, maybe thin that pack out. Because it's very easy to get caught out in a big pack. If you're at the very front of the race, you don't have too many people to watch. You can just keep an eye on what's going on. You may be in control of your own destiny, really, I suppose. Whereas the further back you go, you only need a few riders in front to just let it go. You've then got to put in a big effort to go round them. And there's a limit to how many times you can do that. So letting the gap go is very, very dangerous. It's very hard to pull back. You can just see Al Mansouri behind in the left of your screen, currently at 3.1K, about 300 meters behind our leaders, who are currently at 3.5K. However, they're having to close gaps down. They're having to try and chase back on again. And that is a big ask to chase back on again. So you don't want to let the gaps go. You don't want to sit too far back. For really attentive up at the front. But at the moment, he's Dijkstra, Francis, Barragan. It's going to be Gilson, Cavedo, Jerome, Black, Moreno, all in there. Kokkonen in there as well. Novelin Kokkonen, a rider who he has seen time and time again, really mixing it up on the front piece. Riding in category 2 for the Team RT Cycle Zone, and is definitely riding very, very strongly once again, sitting up and near the front of this group. You can just see that the guys are really pushing on. We're now at 4K, 6 minutes 46 seconds, traveling at 43 kilometers an hour. So we're moving about 25 miles an hour for those of you that work in imperial measurements rather than in metric. At all of our screens, of course, in kilometers, it is fairly much the universal measurement of each. But just because it makes things a lot easier when you're working out the meters, etc. So most people run in kilometers rather than miles. But if you are watching and you need it converting to give you a good indication, 30 km is generally a mile out, and that gives you that's a good pace to hold on your own individually on the flat or in a group on the hills. If you're riding up 40, you're up to about 25 kph, 30 mile and 50 kph, and so on. And today, expect some speeds right the way up to 80 kph. That's about 53 miles an hour. It really very quick, this course, particularly on the slopes on the other side of this hill, because we're now approaching that big gradient. So here we go. Let's see, are we going to see a split in this group? You can just see Kokkonen is aware of the danger. She's moving to the front, riders in the green. She's bridging across to the riders in the yellow. She's putting out 4.7 watts per kilo. She knows she needs to be up with those leading group. That leading group just pulling away at 5+ watts per kilo. So the power, more than 5 watts every kilo of body weight being pushed out by the riders in the front group. The group at the back are sitting sub 5, in fact, sitting nearer the 4 to 4.5, and that is why they are in trouble. And people are having to respond. Jojo moving her way up through this field, and Bauer really is going to have to work. She's got to get back in touch. She's currently losing about 5 seconds on the course to these riders, and Bauer is a rider who can win. Remember, she's a proven winner, but caught out too far back in that group. Now having to work, and it's Foer who's putting the pressure on the front here. So Catherine Foer really trying to stretch it out. Jojo Bauer, we're in with her now. Look at the gap. It doesn't look much, but that gap to the race lead is 15 seconds to the riders at the very front. But she's starting to close on Gallagher, Dijkstra, and co. But the front riders, you look at Foer here, she's got 19 seconds to Bauer. And Foer, Gilson, and Bjarhed are pushing on in some pace here now. Gilson puts even more pressure on. She puts fuel on the fire as she goes on to the front. She is very aware that Bauer is a major threat when it comes to the race. However, Jojo Bauer, sister of Jack, who we've seen in action in the Tour, now having to answer the attack, having to move up this race field. She's got to get onto the wheel of Gonzalez Arroyo, onto the wheel of Francis, on the wheel of Vado. to close down on Fua and then keep on pushing. Cavado and Fua at 23 seconds. That's the back of the pack in front, and she's got to push here. Once those riders go over the top, they're going to pick up pace incredibly quickly. The gap between the riders will extend, and then it pays. You've got to be on the back wheel. You cannot afford to let that gap go, or you are going to be in trouble. And that is why you can see Gilson, Bjarhead here are continuing to keep that pace hot as they come up here. The gap has opened up behind. I think Cavado just about hanging on to our leading three here. But as we look back, I think it's nearly 30 seconds now to the group behind. That is not good news for anybody who is not in that leading pack of four riders. So Bjarhead, Fua, Gilson, Cavado with a 30-plus second gap as they go over the top of the hill. We're with Francis Bauer along with Roy. At the moment, they're on the climb here. They're going to have to push over the top. They will open a gap. Dilstra, who is currently at 15 seconds back behind them. And that is going to be telling, because this could be that by the time we've hit 5 kilometers, we've seen the decisive move made. And as we go over the top of this big climb, that gap has been cemented in, and it is a fixed gap that they're not going to bring back. So our race leaders over the top of the climb, right hand side of your screen. Kekkonen just trying to push on. She's got Moreno on a wheel in the yellow jersey there of a first category rider. In front, you can see these Euron, Hadlock and co, who are leading the battle. A green jersey win. That's in the second category competition. So Hadlock, Giron, and Conan in the mix further down there, battling for the first, second, third places in the second cat race. However, the front of the race, Bjarhead, Cavado, Fua are leading out the right hand of your screen. The chase is on behind, but they have got to close down. We're in with Gallagher. In front of her is Francis. Then it is Gonzalez, Ruhr, and Bauer in front, still with a gap. So these, if they come together, they're currently at 5.8k. The climbing is not done yet. Remember, the first 9 kilometers or so are really hilly. That takes us pretty much to the end of the hills. It's in a downhill and on the flat section with only 29 meters and 30 meters in the second half of this course. It's very, very telling. You can see the pace goes up. The riders are trying to push the momentum along this flat section and in. So they go from being at minus of 5%. It very quickly levels out here. And that is where you're trying to carry as much speed. Fua, Bjarhead, Cavado, and Gilson, your leading group of riders. They now have a gap back to Bauer. So a regular winner, Jojo Bauer with Carly Francis, Dorothy Gonzalez, Roy Ellis, Fiona have to make the cut behind them. You can just see that battle on the left of your screen. This is for the lead of the green competition. This is our second category competition. Remember, our riders in 3 categories. Number 1, the number 2. The next step down, number 3, our base category, where our riders jump in and start off racing on the platform. And as they move up through, so it's all about power. It's about being able to put out those performance. Riders' performances checked and verified, and the aim being to give everybody a really competitive race. There should be somebody for everyone to race against, even if you're as fast as Marlon Bjarhead, Rebecca Gilson, Catherine and Karuk. They have gone for this. They have the gap. It's 20 seconds back to a solo Jojo Bauer. It's 33 seconds back to Fiona Gallagher and Carly Francis. They've got Gonzalez Ruhr, not all that far off the pace. Then it's a further 47, 48 seconds back to Dijkstra. And then we're into our second category riders. So the winning rider should somewhere from the top 9. The question is, who will it be? Will it be one of our leading 4? Will Bauer get back in touch? What's the right-hand side of the screen? That one, left-hand side of your screen. Looks like Madonna continuing to push onwards here, but getting in a qualifying ride, I think, at the moment, rather than pushing for that race win. Lots of our riders are at different points in their training programs and in their riding programs. Remember, lots of people, lots of training weeks in the early weeks of the month as we come through a qualifying, so that they're at the peak for the end of the month, because that's our prize money final on MyWhoosh on the Sunday Race Club, with prizes not just for the individuals, but also for our riders who are in those teams who take the top spots. So take a team win, take an individual win, you're going to be taking home a lot of money. You can see all of the details on the MyWhoosh website. That's www.mywhoosh.com. And don't forget, you can keep up with all of the action, all of the news from Eurobike, as well as from the race scene on Instagram, MyWhoosh, on Facebook with MyWhoosh, and on Twitter with my_whoosh. All those links on the MyWhoosh website, www.mywhoosh.com. And of course, all of the race results, the entry list, the technical regulations, everything that you need to know to come out and race. And of course, to download the platform and jump on and join me. My name is Matt Payne. I'm a regular rider racer on the esports platform and regularly on MyWhoosh, getting basically the ride handed to me by our very fast riders out there. I certainly wouldn't want to be out and racing against our racers out on the course today, because it's a brutal course. It's so tough, this first 9K. You can just see our race leaders, Marlene Bjarhed, on a 9.3% slope. Bjarhed at 67 revs per minute, getting cheered on by our spectators at the side here, and the riders are continuing to push, and this is tough stuff. Bjarhed, Gilson, Cavado, and Fua are our leading four here on qualifier number 3 here on Sunday, and at the moment they've got a gap of 45. I'll repeat that, 45 seconds to Jojo Bauer. Jojo Bauer, regular race to win, caught out on the slopes in the early part of this course, and that has done its damage at one stage, holding them at 10, 15, then 20 seconds. It went 30. It's now at 4 seconds, and I think Bauer, aware that she needs to pick up some help, because the second half of the lap is essentially flat with only 29 meters of ascent, and that is going to really be critical for the riders as they move out around the circuit. So Bauer now being joined by Gallagher, Francis making her way up as well. So Bauer has company with Gallagher. They're going to want to go over the top together and regroup. And it's one of those things that you've got to learn. You've got to jump on the platform, download the MyWhoosh app, and then get riding. No feels to get those riders with, to be able to take that draft, to be able to where to rest, where to push. And that's also about riding the qualifiers. It's not just about getting those qualifying rides, which you need 2 qualifying and verified rides to come in to be in the final, but you also need to ride it because you need to know exactly where you're heading. Now you can see the Super Tuck position just being adopted there for there, pick the pace up enough, knock off the revs, you can drop in to a Super Tuck, save some aerodynamic drag, and then go quickly. But the leading forward now onto our next climb on the way up, currently in that 9K. They're going to come pop out of the other side here, currently on 9%. So this course definitely testing our riders out. And Gilson now on the ascent. She'll drop off the far side and work her way in and around. So Gilson, Bjarhed, Fua, Cavado really working hard. Remember, on this lap, every single lap, we have 207 meters of climbing, and that is a substantial amount. It adds up across the 2 laps to 574 meters, and that is why we are starting to see the gaps open once again. Gilson and Bjarhed now with a 15-second lead to Fua and Cavado. They in turn have a 15-second lead back to Bauer. So it could well be we see a regroup behind our leaders as the 4 leaders become 2. We have 2 pairs on the course at the front of the race. They're being chased by Bauer, by Franco, by Dick, who are a lot more scattered out. They're on the right-hand side of your screen. In the left-hand side, Category 2 race is well and truly on here. So left-hand side in with Curran coming up on Jenny Sanchez. We've got Elodie Reynard. We've got Martina Gironi in there. It is going to be a real battle here between our third, second, and first place, who have been joined in that second category battle by more. So looks like Antico as well. We've got Angel and Hadlock in there. Lutz Carmona is outrunning. So it looks like that category 2 battle is going to continue onwards. Lots of riders in the mix. They're on the left-hand side of your screen. They're on 12.5% on the right side of your screen. just in front. You can just see Fur and Cavado are continuing to push. The distances are not huge between the riders, and that's because it is so steep. Just fine riding one of maybe intermediate stages in the tour, whether that's the men's or the women's tour. What you find is that if it's a roller coaster road, the gaps look like they're really close together. Go up those climbs, the riders look like they could almost reach out and pick the back pocket for a gel of the riders in front. But as soon as the lead riders go over the top, that gap opens right out, and it looks like they've suddenly found some nitrox ignite afterburners. But what's happening? Gravity's taking its effect. It's pulling them down the far side. They're then riding through at pace and opening the gap back up, only to have it then compress back down again. And those roller coaster roads are really difficult to ride at a constant speed. Jojo Barrett, usually no problem, looks to be trying to close in on our race leaders, but that gap has opened. She's 45 seconds to Fua, she's 137 to Bjarhead, who currently leads. She's just starting to break clear, I think, of Gilson, putting Gilson under some pressure, but Gilson responding. So here we go. Gilson has gone over the top. She put in a massive, massive dig. She was really accelerated up. She went up to 8 watts per kilo at one point there. And she knows she's got to really keep on up 9.9. And she'll want to be getting out the far side and use that gap. But she will then be solo as she continues onwards. So 10 kilometers covered, 21 minutes 12 as they go through that 10K mark. 11.6% the slope that Gilson is riding. And at the moment, Rebecca Gilson has everybody under the cosh as Bjarhead, Fua, Gallagher, as well as Francis are all left chasing our race leader. Bjarhead, the closest rider, just going onto the heels of Gilson on the right screen. Behind it is Bauer, Francis, and Gallagher that you can see. So the 3 riders together. It's Francis out of the saddle, just moving and pulling on those bars. With Gallagher, who is sat at the back of this group. Jojo Bow just to the right-hand side of the road, sat down with the white helmet on there. So the riders, they're on that 13% ascent. The race leaders over the top and now onto the descent that will drop them onto the back part of the course, coming down towards those lake sides. And this is where they are going to really try and wind it up. The distance will increase in the riders, and they've really got to push on. So we're going to watch our leaders. They're moving at pace. Just a quick reminder, don't forget, if you are watching live, if you're in the Frankfurt area, down to you, invite you jump in, go say hello to the gang, and say hello to Jeff, who does a lot of our videos. Kevin Poulton, the head of product, is down there as well. And thank you to all the team working so hard down there. I managed to catch a couple of words with one or two of them whilst they were busy building in between their brief moments of sleep. I really wanted to make sure everybody has a great time coming down and riding on MyWhoosh down at the Eurobike show. If you have managed to get down, well, thank you very much for visiting. If you want to jump in and find out what it's all about, you've not been able to get down, then don't forget www.mywhoosh.com. As we see, Bjarhead and Gilson are race leaders now. It is a duo of riders. They're the riders who really have pushing in the win in qualifying number 1 and qualifying number 2 between them. So Rebecca Gilson, incredibly quick rider. Big power numbers out, big watts per kilo coming out from Gilson. Bjarhead from Sweden, again, another fast, powerful rider. It was Gilson took the win in qualifying number 1, qualifying number 2 last week. That was Marlene Bjarhead, but the pair of them are regular winners. Behind, they've got another regular winner in the shape of Jojo Bauerco. She's in with the riders Carly France and Cavado in front as well. They need to squeeze on. If the 5 riders could get together, then there is enough flat section of this course where they could make a big, big difference. But you need to find Cavado, Fua, Gallagher, Francis, and Bauer together, I think, for this to work. So the next section, of course, that these riders are on is flat. So Bauer, after just taking a little bit of a breather, she just starts to just put some, maybe tighten a shoe or something similar. Now having to kick to get back in with Francis and Gallagher. And this is not all over. That gap has opened right out, but we know because of the shape of this course, we've got another set of hills and we've got a flat finish. So being is key here. The leaders are two riders, only two riders. On the right of your screen, Gilson and Bjarhed. They have behind potentially five riders who work together to close that gap down. And if these five riders can work as a bunch, then they have the opportunity, they have the potential to close that gap down. Distance may be over a kilometre on the course between Bauer and Gilson, but that is certainly achievable. You see it time and time again. If you've been watching any of the Girodonna, if you've been watching any of the classics, if you've been watching any of the Tour, then you'll see once the teams work together, once the riders work together on the flat, they can really wind up the pace and close those gaps down. And that is absolutely critical, because if they can do that, then they'll be able to pull these two leaders back. I wouldn't want to go chasing after them solo. I think that is a very difficult thing to do. Now, left-hand side of your screen, Catherine Fua currently at 11.9k, just over a k behind race leaders, with Cavado on her heels. So it's Bjarhed and Gilson on the right, Fua and Cavado on the left. Two pairs of riders continue to push onwards. Very similar pace and speed, dependent on the gradient on the hill. The riders on your right are on the climb at 1.3%. The riders on your left on a 2.5% downhill. Hence why one set on the right-hand side, 27 kph, 39, 40 kph for the descenders. They've got to continue to push. If they don't push on in that chase, if they don't work together, Fua and Cavado are going to be battling out, and there are two riders battling at the moment for third and fourth place. Our two leaders will stay clear. If they work together, well, then that becomes a whole different game. But remember, there are behind them Jojo Bauer, Fiona Gallagher, and Carly Francis, all trying to close that gap down as well. And you can see Bauer, I think he's really going to close in on Fua and Vado. I think she's got them at about 11 seconds here from my math. So here on a Sunday race club, our riders are absolutely flying around the circuit. Our race leaders are Rebecca Wilson and Merlin Bjarhed. The attack on the early hilly section broke clear. A group of four. The last hill, though, saw that separated, with Bjarhed and Gilson going clear of Fua. Jojo Bauer caught out on the early hills, has had to work her way back through, and has gone past Francis Gallagher and co. to try and close the gap down. She's chasing in fifth place with Sis and Gallagher in seventh places, respectively. This is a big chase, though, and it's a big ask, because Fua and Cavado are 20 plus seconds ahead of Cavado. Fua to Bauer, and then it's even further up the road to get to Bjarhed and Gilson. You can just see the right-hand side of your screen. We got Fua as well as Cavado. Left-hand side of your screen, Bauer chasing, working hard, trying to bring that gap down. And this is tough. This is really, really hard for the riders. They've got to really push on here to bring the gap down to the leaders, but the leaders are there for a reason. They're there because they're the strong riders who could open that gap up, and that makes it very, very difficult for individual riders to chase, with our two strong race leaders clear at the front. So in with those race leaders. This is Gilson we're riding with at the moment. She's just tracking the back wheel of Bjarhed. Bjarhed pushing on a little bit here. She's just lifted those watts per kilo back up again. So Bjarhed on the left, Gilson just sat behind, slightly off to the right at the moment, as they make their way around this flat section. 2 full laps of the course here at the Tel Marib course, a lap circuit. And that means that we are going to be seeing these riders making their way around. It is possible for the riders to actually start lapping some of the riders in the second and third category racing, particularly with the pace on the front. Now, Jojo Bauer, regular race winner, regularly strong rider here today. Bauer, of course, one of the riders who we would expect to be in with the win, but she's got so much work to do. She is closing down on the back wheel of Quevedo. You can see behind Quevedo as our cameras pan back to look back. That is Bauer behind. It's 8 seconds on our clock on the right-hand side of your screen. And that has definitely come down as Bauer continues to push here. She's wanting to get that gap down on this flatter section. Now, if this group had come together at the start of the flat section, it would have been much quicker for them to make any ground on the leaders or extend the lead on the riders behind. However, they've got to work hard to do that because they know that if they ease off for a second, they will be in trouble. In terms of the team competition, well, it's a real tricky one to call at the moment, and that is because we've got Bauer up there for Las Colombianas. You've got two riders at the very front, Bjarhead and Gilson, who have no team with them here today at all, and that has definitely changed complexion. Fua and Quevedo, though, the riders in third and fourth place, they are in the same team in the Spartan Obstacles team, but they don't have a third counter. So this is really let door wide open. It's going to be really interesting to see who's going to go for it now. Gallagher is one of our looper riders. She's a really strong rider. Francis is also a looper, another very strong rider. However, he got a gap. And behind, we have our second category riders. And those second category riders are doing damage. They are trying to close down. It could well be that we see what's happened before, and those second category riders take the scouts now. Second category riders on our screen here. Really interesting to see who's in this mix. Jenny and Julie Sanchez in this group. We're looking to see if Para is in here. I don't think she is. And that means, again, two riders in this group. We're looking for our third rider, but I can't see in that pack. That is going to make things very interesting. We've got Ellie Reynard in this group, but Reynard has only got Liz Mona as a teammate in here as we see that push on the front. So Julie Sanchez up there. They need their third count to move up. We have got Novelin Kokkonen. We've got Angel and Hadlock in here as well. Not seeing Jenny Tan, their third counter, and that is really blown wide open. And it could well be that we are going to see a potentially or a really big scalp for one of the other teams. It's going to mean it's going to come down to a real big complicated calculation. Certainly going to struggle to work out who is going to take it as they come in and through the line in the top 10, because I think out of our top 10, maybe top 20 riders, we're only going to see one and two riders coming through with the third counters a lot. To see who wins the team, don't forget, all the results are up on www.mywhoosh.com/results. So jump on links top of the page across on the big features bar across the top, on the top of the MyWhoosh page. Click onto results and then you can pick out the individual races. Don't forget, of course, that on the results, they come in basically favors. They are live across the screen as you see them, and that is as the race is in progress. They then move to unofficial when the race is completely over. All riders are in, but the results are not verified and confirmed. And then when that verification process of checking weight, data, heart rates, making sure it's physically, humanly possible, and all of those AI processes that go on as well as the human checking in the background, once they're done, they then turn from unofficial to official. Our riders have to put in 2 verified official rides before they can move into the final. This, though, of course, yeah, 4 qualifier plus we have our final at the end of the month. So 5 races in this month. Lots of time to get used to the courses, lots of time to test out your tech and make sure that everything works all through, making sure that turbo trainer is putting the power down. The front of the race, Bjarhead and Gilson still looking good. However, Fua is continuing to push, but look who's with it. It's Jojo Bauer making that catch with Quevedo, and these 3 riders, they come around to complete lap number 1. Should be able to work together. They've got to push, though, and they've got to keep on pushing. And Fua, I think, has got that little bit of a gap back to Bauer. Just taking a look, it's 14 seconds. It's Quevedo who's dropped back here rather than potentially Bauer closing into Fua. Fua is going to be looking to hold this. So Catherine doing a great job here. A regular on MyWhoosh. It's always great to see her in action. You can see by that heart rate she's really trying to push, really keeping that gap there and pushing all the way to the end. Getting a great workout here, getting some great training and knowing how this course rides whilst she is giving it absolutely everything. So Bjarhead in one, Gilson in two, three. Then it's Bauer in fourth, Cavado in five, Francis in six, Gallagher in seven, Dijkstra in eighth place at the moment on the course. Our leaders on the right hand side of your screen. Head at the back, Gilson on the front. Underneath the gantry, they go one lap complete. 70.95 K as they go underneath the gantry. Now ticks over across to 80. So we have so one lap done of the 2 laps of Talmarie done, as you can see, a clockwise circuit with the total elevation 544 meters. Not the most elevation, but the vast majority of that coming in the first half of the lap. The second half, just seen, flatter, faster. It'll pay to be in a group. We've seen those groups start to reform behind our leaders. Leaders on the right of your screen, Bjarhead and Gilson. They kick clear on the hills. Bauer pushing on here with Cavado for company. Sandwiched in between is Catherine Fur, but that is going to take a lot of doing to see Fur pulled back at this stage. A regular race winner and trying to close the gap back down on Bjarhead. Bjarhead taking that win in qualifying number 2 last week. Don't forget, if you haven't watched the racing before, you can always jump onto the YouTube channel, subscribe on there, tick that box, and then you'll be notified every time we go live with the Sunday Race Club. Also get notified when Jeff is bringing us more of those fantastic videos. How to personalize your car. Wanted race tactics, what color do you want to put your socks on, right the way through to how to connect to your training programs, things like Training Peaks onto Strava, because of course if you don't face it, it never ever happened. And of course, lots of great videos and insights into the team supported by MyWhoosh. So that includes the UAE Emirates team, as well as the team from the UAE ADQ squad from the women's field. And don't forget, of course, lots of videos from live events as well. Seeing lots of great footage coming out of Eurobike, and you can catch up with that on Instagram. That is MyWhoosh on Instagram, MyWhoosh on Facebook, and MyWhoosh. So it's my_whoosh on Twitter. Whilst you're on there, don't forget, give me a follow, Matt Fix a Pain, Facebook, Twitter, as well as on Strava, and of course on MyWhoosh, so you can come out and jump on a ride with me regularly on the MyWhoosh's ride, as well as on some of the Battle of the Bots. Great to ride on the platform and really get to the feel for these courses, even if my legs don't necessarily thank me afterwards. And that's not just a product of me older and slower. Definitely case of the hills are brutally tough. The feel is so much like riding outdoors. If you can carry your momentum, your speed, and your pace, then it does make a difference. We'll be getting more insights into that from one of our riders who's been racing on the platform, been riding on the platform. We're going to be joined by Emma. You can follow her at Biking Emma, and she'll be with us next week, bring us a few insights as well on the way around the course in our next qualifier and that run into the finals. So at the moment, Malin Bjarhead leading this race, qualifier number 3 of 4, with Gilson alongside her. A little bit further back, Catherine Fur, sandwiched in no man's land between Cavado and Bauer, as Cavado and Bauer try and chase down Fur. So we have another 2 riders. And then behind Gallagher, Francis, and Dijkstra, the riders in that first category really are leading this race out at the moment. And that is telling as this race continues onwards, because as these riders continue around this circuit, those gaps only look to be growing. So Bjarhead at the moment just squeezing a little bit of a gap outside from Gilson, but a quick response from Gilson this time around. So Gilson just sitting on the back there. None of these riders getting very much drop at all, and in fact, Gilson and Bjarhead just exchanging the lead a little bit there, but Bjarne quickly pushed back up to the four. If you sit in second wheel, then you're going to get that advantage. Your numbers will go green as we see Bjarne as she was behind there. They went into the green. That means you're getting the drafts. You're not having to break through that air on your own. And the modeling and the computer modeling that's done basically means it's a really, really accurate feel as you head around the circuit. So, the riders are well on the way around into lap number 2. We're just in for 20 cases with just over 20.5k for our race leaders. We're fast approaching 40 minutes. In fact, there we go. 40 minutes of racing complete. Two-thirds of an hour done. 20k covered of the 35.9k course. And at the moment, we have 2 leaders clear here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club with Marlon Bjarhead, Becca Gilson clear. They have over a minute lead now on Catherine Fuhr, who's in second place behind Cavado. Bauer and Co are chasing hard. We'll take a look back at them in a little bit to have a look, and you can just see that Fuhr is about to get some company here. So Bauer and Cavado just getting back into 3 riders. Our 2 leaders at about a minute at the moment. So it's just about a minute from Bauer and Co. Bauer, Fuhr, and Cavado to the leaders, Gilson and Bjarhead. But time is running out. We are on 21k of racing. They've got 35.9 to go. And now these riders really need to think. Cavado for teammates, but Bauer isn't. But will we see an alliance between the 3 riders in the interest of closing down these 2 who are around racing? They're both individual riders. They can only make friends out on the course. They're not got a formal teammate in there. And that is going to be very, very telling as they move onwards. So 21k done. So that's a summary of the Category 1 riders. They are the riders at the top of the tree. They should be the riders who are fighting it for the race win. But don't forget, we have Category 2 and 3 riders as well. Left-hand side of your screen, we're watching Julie Sanchez. Julie, one of our leading category riders, regularly in the top 10 in pretty much all of the racing. And Julie Sanchez is taking a 3rd and an 8th place. In with Martina Gironi in here as well. But you can see that these riders all know that they are fighting for position. And I think this is going to be really interesting. It's Julie Sanchez, Jenny Sanchez, Martina Gironi, as well as Tia and Tico on the way through here, all of which could figure who's going to take out that top spot. And it is important to put down a marker, but it's not just good for morale, it's also good from the perspective of trying to make sure you know the course and how to ride it. And it's also good for all the rivals maybe to go, well, actually, do you know what? I don't think I can beat them. They just beat me time and time again. And that makes a big difference to people's heads when you're out and racing against them. It's always good for people to really struggle and to know that you're messing with the head as well as really trying to push at them when you're out and racing. So at the moment, it is Marlon Bjarhead and Gilson who are putting the marker down. They're the ones who are putting in the effort here. Bjarhead with a little bit of a kick to go onto the wheels of Gilson, then eases off. We're just on this little dip down at the moment. So our leaders on the right of your screen are riders in the second group, which is in 3rd, 4th, and 5th places. That is Bauer, Fuhr, and Cavado. On the left of your screen, your top 5 riders. At the moment, separated, and I think that gap just starting to go back out again. It's likely to come down a little bit. I suspect you start to go into the hills as Bjarhead and Gilson maybe pay the price for riding so hard so early. So coming up towards 3/4 of an hour of racing, 43:40 done, 22.5k on the clock of the 35.9. So we are definitely heading in for that 2/3 race distance. At the moment, we have Gilson and Bjarhead in the race lead with the gap back to Cavado, back to Bauer, and back to Fuhr, who are really trying to push on. That gap come down, but that is a reflection, I think, as much on the terrain as it is on the rides that are being done at the moment. But the advantage on the fast sections with the riders who have more riders together, they're going to be separated on this hill. We're just going to have a little look at the distance between them. Gilson at the moment on the race lead, 22.7k, 22.44. Bauer, 300 meters between them. Gilson, though, and I think if we manage to get a look behind Gilson, I think Bjarhead is starting. Oh, look at that. Here we go. The gap is starting to open now. It doesn't look much at the moment. It's just eking it out. If you've watched the tour, you'll have seen as the riders were going on to the Alpe d'Huez, race leader Tom Pidcock, as they came onto the Alpe, he only had a few meters on second. Louis Menke. However, that gap, it couldn't come back. They couldn't bring him back, and it just ate out and eats out and eats out. And an early response is required. If you leave it too long, that go. Now Bjarhead is responding to it. Gilson is pushing it as well. Look at the numbers. We're talking 7 watts per kilo coming out from these riders after 45 minutes of racing. But Gilson is continuing to push on. They're further up the hillside, only a few hundred meters in front of the chase behind. So here we go. Gilson has the gap. Bjarhead now losing 20 seconds as they come over the top of the Tel Maib. As they come over the top of Tel Maib, you can see the gap has gone. Gilson has opened it. She started to put the wedge in and then she drove it home. It's a long way to go. It may be just over 9k, just a sub 10k to go. But you know what? That is a big ask to solo for a race finish on a roller coaster course. It's not like it's just a straight climb. And this is going to be really interesting. Bjarhead, though, working really hard in the early stages. Gilson now will be feeling strong. She's gone clear. She's broken at the moment. Can Bjarhead recover and chase? Well, we know Marlon Bjarhead is an incredibly strong character, really fast rider, and great to see her in action. But can she contain Gilson, who is really starting to open up the gaps on the front here? So it's Rebecca Gilson, Marlon Bjarhead, Jojo Bauer, Karut Quevedo, Catherine Furr, Fiona Gallagher, Carly Francis, who are leading in that first Category 1 competition behind Julie Sanchez, regularly at the top of the tree, regularly fighting it out for the win, leading the second category riders at the moment. You can see Fua just in a little bit of trouble here as Quevedo and co just open up the gaps. Just riding on the left-hand side with Julie Sanchez here. So Sanchez, Gironi in here. It looks like Tico in as well. And that's another great battle here up at the front of the race for our leading second category position. They're at 22.6k. Look at these riders. They're on 12.4% and they're putting down 200 plus watts to keep this moving and to make sure that they can hold that position. And it's going to be a very tight race because whilst we have our leaders, Sanchez, Girona, and Antico, you're seeing Jenny Sanchez move up on to the wheels as well, just coming into that pack. It's now 4 riders. And behind, there are still lots of second category riders really close. So the second category race, wide open at the moment. No clear definitive leader. It's not the same in the Category 1 race by any stretch of the imagination, with Gilson at the moment on a different planet and riding away from everybody else. So you can see Gilson right-hand side, sole leader of the women's Category 1 race. On the left-hand side screen, you can see our riders in the green. There are leading riders in the Cat 2 race, and they are looking very, very strong indeed as well. They're on the steepest sections. They're at 13% for the Category 2 Wilson on the flat section. But looking at these riders on the climb, you can just see how hard this is. Look at the revs. Julie Sanchez is starting to try and open that gap back up against 72, 74 revs per minute, just pushing, continuing to push on 148 beats per minute. But look at Gilson's heart rate, 169 beats a minute for Gilson. at 90 plus revs per minute. But Gilson is soon going to be suffering, just like the riders here, because she's soon going to be up on to the climb. And it doesn't matter how fast you are, how good you are. Every time I hit the climb now, they're going to about it because it is getting tougher and tougher as this race continues onwards. So tough stuff today. Question will be who take this as we go through, who is going to be leading as they come in and through the finish. At the moment, Gilson in prime spot, and Gilson about to hit the climb. On camera just in front as we see Gilson hit this slope, and you see how quickly it ramps up. We're at 11% already. So Gilson now having to put down some big numbers, 376 in terms of watts. So rolling around that 370 watts mark at the moment. Rebecca Gilson just feeling at ease slightly at the moment. It's going to kick again, and she's got plenty more to do. 25.8k the distance covered, 35.9k the total distance for the race. So Gilson leading at the moment, and certainly looking very smooth as she comes up here. That heart rate, 176 beats a minute, is incredibly high. It's hard to hold that so high for a long time. No matter how good an athlete you are, it is brutal, and that is definitely the case where Gilson is pushing so hard. She's at 5.7 watts per kilo. Bjarhead at the moment is in no man's land. She's between our race leader, some 35 plus seconds back, but she does have nearly a minute and a half gap on the riders behind. So Bjarhead on the left of your screen in position 2. On the right-hand side of your screen, Rebecca Gilson in position number 1, our race leader at the moment. 200 meters or so separating them on the ground in MyWhoosh in Tel Marib at the moment as these riders continue onwards, and that meterage continues to tick up. Gilson already having climbed 428 meters, with Bjarhead having 413 meters, 415 meters now. So it's tough stuff out here, but at the moment, our riders are looking good. They've got the gap, they've got still plenty of time, over 2 minutes. Gilson to third place. Bjarhead has about a minute and a half between her and third place. As Gilson comes to the top of the slope, and it's going to be fast now because Gilson can kick over the top of the slope a little bit further back. You can see Bauer and Quevedo just coming into that climb, but Gilson already over the top. So you can see left-hand side of that screen, they are coming in. Here we go. The riders of that same slope. They are 1 minute behind Bjarhead. They are currently 1 minute 30 behind Gilson, but they have dropped Fuhr and Catherine Fuhr now at 15 seconds down on these riders. So it is going to be Gilson at the moment who leads out on the right-hand side, coming up for 27 kilometers covered behind. Now on to the climb, and Jojo Bauer trying to come back across. She's closed lots of ground down since the start of the race. She's got to keep on closing it down on the way through. So at the moment, Bauer on to the 10% slopes, but she's a full hill and valley between her and Rebecca Gilson, this leader who has distanced everybody behind her. So Gilson leading at the moment. Bauer in third place, sandwiched in between Marlene and Bjarhead. They are top of 3. Edo in 4, in 5, Gallagher in 6, and Francis in 7. But Bauer and Quevedo pretty much together as they come up here. So third and fourth places next to nothing, separating those riders as they come up this climb. Currently race at time of 53 minutes and 18, now heading for 20 plus seconds as we make our way up the climb. Gilson currently covering 27.3k, with 25.9 underneath the wheels of Jojo Bauer and Karup Quevedo. So here on Sunday Race Club, here on MyWhoosh, you can see our race leader on the right of your screens, Rebecca Gilson, leading this race out from Marlene Bjarhead, then Karup Quevedo and Jojo Bauer, with Catherine Fuhr a little bit back and distance into fifth place. left-hand side of your screen is Bjerrehead. So Marlene coming up the climb. She's at 13.1%. Distance between the two riders is less than 200 meters. However, that time gap is big because on this slope of 13+%, it takes some time to cover 200 meters. At the moment, Gilson has commanded the race. She was aggressive early. They were in a pack that was very quickly down on the first section. The rider that got caught out behind the splits was Jojo Bauer. The group in front went now. As Bauer recovered, she's gone past Francis, past Gallagher, past Fuller. But Jojo Bauer on the left of your screen has to try and close down Bjerrehead and Gilson. She wants to take victory. She's a regular on MyWhoosh. She's a regular on the Sunday Race Club, a regular winner. But has she got enough in the tank? Cavado behind. It's going to be another good result. Karup always in the mix, always in and fighting. Just waiting to scoop another big win here. And I suspect it won't be long before we see her up on the top stop of the podium. Meanwhile, Gilson just starting to lap riders here out on the course, because this a 2-lap race. We're well into lap number 2 at the moment. We currently have a little bit of a distance left where the gap could be brought down by the chasers behind, but the way Gilson is riding at the moment, I don't think that's going to be the case. Currently doing 53 to 60. Let's look, 58, 55. Yeah, nicely. So out of the saddle, definitely not spinning like we see Bjerrehead doing at nearly double the revs at 90 revs per minute, the pedal cadence, as she makes her way up this slope. So sitting in the saddle, spinning round, whereas Gilson out of the saddle and really kicking down on those pedals, punching the pedals round and getting a lot of reward. He comes up this slope. So Rebecca Gilson, a race leader at the front of the Sunday Race Club Women's Race qualifying number of 4 this month. Remember, at the end of every month, it is our prize money final. Big, big, big prizes at stake, not just in the individual category, but if you make a team, grab a team and jump into the competition. Big team prizes as well. It's not old school one rider, one prize. You can take prizes in your team competition, as well as taking prizes in the individual competition. And because of this, it is going to be really, really interesting to see the riders as they continue onwards, because this is really a fast course here. But Bjerrehead is pushing. Cavado is pushing. They can't get this gap by those Gilson, because Gilson is in a league of her own at the moment. So Gilson leading in 1. Look at this, tucked down low on the bike in the super tuck position. The UCI might have, if you're riding out and away, if you're out and racing on the tarmac out in the world with the sun shining. But if you're on MyWhoosh with the sun blazing down on your virtual roads, you can go take that super tuck position. Stop pedaling. The speed has to be high enough. It has to be fast enough. It's got to be steep enough. But you back off, you stop pedaling, and then you get into super tuck. Reduced aerodynamic drag. Avatar is going quicker. It's moving faster. You're using less effort to keep that pace, and smart riding is going to save you a lot of time when you're out and racing. It's very important. It allows you to get that heart rate down. Gilson, we saw with that heart rate nearly at 190. She's done the descent. Look at that heart rate drop, 152, 153 beats as she's come down there. Bjerrehead at the moment, 181. She needs to be smart again. Use the downhills to get that recovery in, then start to build it back up again. All of these little rests, known as micro rests, are going to make a difference to how the riders are able to ride in the last sections of the course. Remember, we're on 35.9k today, not 35k dead, as we've seen multiple times previously. We're on a slightly longer distance to get the 2 full laps in here today. And great to see the laps in action. Just seeing us go around some of our lapped riders here. Maybe not as often as we were seeing at some of our crits and the XC races. And then it gets very complicated indeed as the riders come through. But at the moment, we're seeing Gilson starting to lap riders, Bjarhead starting to lap riders as well. They are the 1, 2, and number 1 side of your screen, number 2 on the left-hand side of your screen. Gilson and Bjarhead leading this race out as we approach the 30-kilometer marker, which will mean we have just about 6K to go. For the leader, in fact, just less than 6K to go for our leader just to come in and through. Now we're going to wash behind. Jojo Bauer got caught out. She's got Cavado out of the side immediately behind her on the right of your screen. They are chasing Bjarhead at the moment. Just looking at the distance between these riders, though, Karuk Cavado and have covered just under 28K. Marlena Bjarhead has covered over 29. In fact, the distance between them is fast approaching 2K, and that is tough stuff. So, at the moment, Bjarhead secure in second place. Big ass to close down on Gilson, who is leading, but it's going to be another podium spot for Marlena Bjarhead, a regular at the top of the standings, a regular race winner, the rider who took victory in qualifier number 2. The winner in qualifier number 1, Rebecca Gilson, on the front of the race with now nearly a minute and a half between her and the riders behind. So that is going to be brilliant tough for anyone to close the gap down. This course is not forgiving, and it does produce some really aggressive racing here. The women's race is aggressive. If you want to watch some men's, don't forget on today we had our qualifier for the men's competition. That is available on the MyWhoosh YouTube channel. You can pick it up on there, and that is going to be available. In fact, all of our back races available. Just jump onto MyWhoosh on YouTube. Don't forget, of course, to tick that subscribe button to make sure you give us a watch and get when all videos come out. Watch online, jump onto mywhoosh.com, download the app if you haven't done it already, jump on. It's free to put the app on. There's no subscription charge for the app. You just jump on. We want to get riders racing, and we want riders to race in a fair environment. And so to encourage our riders, not only do we do a lot of work verifying and checking the riders, but we also put out some big prize money at the end of every month. That's how much the platform really wants to drive on racing here, because we are wanting to reward those riders who jump in and race. Get the rides in. Make sure you ride the course you're up against when you're racing. Really critical to know how much have you put in. And it's not just for our race leaders in Category 1. Those prizes go in Category 1 and Category 2 and in Category 3 and in the teams out all of the standings as well. So really important to jump on, and the support that MyWhoosh is giving the sport is invaluable. And riders like, as we mentioned previously, Jason Osborne through into the elite ranks, basically putting in some great rides on MyWhoosh, and an absolutely talented athlete, a Olympic rower, of course, a very fast rider, now riding for the Alpecin Phoenix squad. Wow, at the moment, Rebecca Gilson putting in what is a very professional, world-class performance. She hits 4K to go, some meters for Gilson as she makes her way around lap number 2 here at MyWhoosh. So lap 2 for Rebecca Gilson. In front of her, the open road in front of Bjarhead. Plenty of road between her and Gilson. Gilson on the right-hand side, Bjarhead on the left-hand side, but Gilson has this lead. She really has opened up the gas. It's 1 minute 20 back to Marlene Bjarhead, and now it's about sitting and keeping that pace. We were talking about her heart rate earlier on and how that dropped down to the 150, 152 marker. It's back up to 168, 169, 172 as the work rate has come back in after descending and relaxing, of taking a big breath in there, being able to just stretch those legs out on that descent. She's now picking up her heart rate, starting to climb as she continues to work in finish. You know how much work she's got to do. You can't afford to sit up, just like you would find whether you're racing a mountain bike, a track bike, a road bike, whatever. You've got to go out there and you've got to maximize that gap because we do see problems. A good friend of mine on the Crosscast, that's the Cyclocross podcast, Neil Mansfield, in fact, has previously been in races. He's had a puncture. Literally had a puncture on the bike. He's had a broken chain before now when he's been running on the turbo trainer. He's jumped off, he's fixed it, he's got back on, and he's completed the race. Neil, a real avid cycling fan, a regular on all disciplines, on road, off road, esports, the lot, and great to see him in action. So let's see who is going to be able to do that. Who is going to be able to close the gap down? Who is going to be able to pull back anything? I think this is going to be really tough stuff today. Will we see that happen here today? Gibson leading this race out. We will see whether Bauer can close the gap down. It's going to be a tough ask. I hope she'll get there with was the same for all of our riders. Jojo Bauer also wanting to stay clear on the way through, and again trying to keep that time gap. The other thing that could happen, it could not be a mechanical. If you're like me, habit of going to the blocks like 100 miles an hour, thinking you are the very next race. I'm going to be the next Tadej Pogacar, even if he is X amount of decades younger than me. And then you blow like an absolute loon. So basically, all of the glycogen gone, all of the muscles are killing, everything's gone wrong. You can blow. It doesn't just happen when you make a rookie error like that, despite riding for far too many years. It can happen when you've been on it. It sneak up on you. And then when you run out of energy, the slightest drag will really take its toll. One of my early road races around the Yorkshire Dales, I was out racing and got round with the leaders. My bottle cage just snapped off. I only had one bottle with me, thinking that would be enough. It had my energy drink in it as well. The bottle cage got snapped off about halfway through the race. Only had half a bottle left. Got to within 3 miles with leaders. Came into the 3 miles, there was a drag, and I just went pop. I walked up the last hill. I crawled down the downhill and I came in about 20 minutes down in about the last 3 miles, about 5K. And that is what can happen where you've been pushing. Gilson, once she gets over the last climb, she can free wheel down to the finish. She won't be crawling down it, but she has got enough of a gap to give her some margin. So Gilson looking nailed on for that. Now, really interesting behind the battle for the first, second category rider. Martina, Jenny Sanchez in there, Alicia Antico as well. LD Reynard trying to fight a way up here. Julian Jenny Sanchez in the mix. It is really interesting to see these riders all battle for position here in our second category race. It is really important. These riders putting some great performances. I want to be up in the mix. The riders are a category by performances, by their level of effort. It's not just based on a fixed barrier between X amount of watts per kilo as your functional threshold. It is a fluid and flexible one. It's down now responds to the riders in the racing, and that's why we see such a great racing, because people are up against riders that are of a similar level. You just need to look here at Catherine Fua. Fua has been battling up at the front, but she's still got a round with her. Even though she's gone backwards, she's got Gallagher just in front, and Catherine needs to push now. Looks like Gallagher is trying to extend the gap up at the front. So this is getting very close, leader even closer, I would imagine, to our race finish. In fact, there we go. We're into the last kilometre here for her, because she's now at 35.2. That means there is less than 700 meters to go. Well, we can do a big build-up for Rebecca Gilson, because this rider has been on the offensive. She's opened the gap back to Elena behind, the only rider capable of going with her in the latter stages of the race. But Gilson is going to solo to victory. She can put her arms in the air. She can high-five the crowd on the way through. You name it, she's going to be able to do it. It's going to be another win for Gilson. So Rebecca Gilson taking victory in qualifier number 1. She's going to take a great victory here today. She has less than 400 meters into the finish. So we're in with Gilson. She'll be looking for that, but it's first place. At the moment, she's going to keep on pushing all the way into the line, I think. You can just see that heart rate dropping down. It's at 150 beats per minute, and she won't be gasping for air as she comes in to the finish here in MyWhoosh. She goes in between the barriers now. She lines up, she sees the gantry, and once she goes through that arch, it is going to be a race for victory. 2 out of the 3 qualifying races on the Sunday Race Club go to Rebecca. Again, her time looks like a 1:09:19, so a 1 hour 9 minutes 19.981 seconds, and an average watts per kilo of 3.7 per kilo. Now, Marlene Bjarhed has held off the battle behind. It means she will be coming in to take that second place. And it means that the winner, the only to deprive Rebecca Gilson of a win so far in this round of qualifiers, is going to come in a second place this time around. She'll have her 2 qualifying rounds in, and this is where we'll get to see what that gap is from Gilson back to Marlene Bjarhed between them. That road really did open as we came in to the end. But Bjarhed now approaching the village. She'll work her way in between the banners, in between the barriers. She'll eventually line herself up for that gantry. And she comes around this right turn. Here we go. So it is Marlene Bjarhed who's going to take away the second place here in qualifying round number 2. 1 win, 1 second place, and comes through 1 minute 13 seconds, 0.331 down. Now behind Jojo Bauer, caught out on the early hills at the very start of the race. He was mixed in behind a number of riders. Behind her, Karut Kavedo is chasing Fiona Gallagher, along with Fua and Francis, and it looks like Martina Gironi started to open up the gap. Of those second category riders is really interesting to see that she's now starting to push on behind her. The riders are not all that far behind. I think Antico and Says are going to be. This could come down to a bunch sprint in that second category competition. But Jojo Bauer now heading in towards her last kilometre in third place. She should come home to take that. Now a regular race ought to be her day today, but it's going to be another podium for Bauer. The question will be who will follow her into the line, who is going to take away the team comp. That is, as we said earlier, going to take some working out, because whilst a number of teams have got 2 riders right up at the top, they don't have 3 riders right up at the top, and that means it's going to drop down through those positions. So every rider in this race, they may not be in the battle for the top 3, the top 5, the top 10, or the top 15. They're going to need to keep on riding, because that team win is up for grabs. And it's going to come down to the riders further down the team, which will be really interesting to see. So Bauer at the moment on the left of your screens, with 2 riders already home, Gilson and Bjarhed already home, having completed the race. The riders in front of Bauer doing an amazing job. They dropped the riders behind. Bauer overtook those riders moving through, went past Gallagher, went past Francis, went past Fua, and now it should be Jojo Bauer who's going to come in. She goes through the 35k marker. She's got 900 meters to go. The battle in the green jersey, between our green jersey to second category red, is really interesting to see. And I think there's a red jersey in there. We're not sure whether that's going to be a laps rider. I think it is. Isn't that is a heck of a ride, and just taking a look, I think that's going to be Kokin in there. I think she's going to be lapped at this stage. If not, that's an amazing ride by that third category rider to and to come in to the mix here. So the lead of the green second category riders, it looks like it's going to come down to a battle between Gironi and Antico. Will it be Gironi or Antico? Will Martino take this? Will Alicia take this? Behind Jenny Sanchez has a gap in front of her that she has to close if she wants to be in the mix. There is still a little bit of time left. There's just approaching 34 kilometers to go, and they are about 2.2k to go, near enough to the one rider who's got only a few hundred meters to go. She comes around the corner. It's going to be about 100 meters to go as she straightens up for the line. Here we go. It is Jojo Bauer. So Jojo Bauer is going to take a really fine third. It's a fantastic comeback after being distanced in the early part of the race. So Bauer is going to come through. She takes away third place. Her time is going to be through in 4 seconds behind, sorry, 4 minutes behind. That's an incredible time going through. So the overall time it is that 109. Is 113 back. The time of 110.33 for Bjarhead, a 114 for Bauer, and that is a 4 second. So that is a big margin. So a 4 minute deficit, 441 deficit. That's a huge gap. It shows you just how far Gilson and Bjarhead have pulled out in the last part of that race. Now we're going to take a little bit of Fado. Has a gap on Gallagher at the moment. She should be coming in to take away that victory. She's currently about to turn in the village, but look at Gallagher. Gallagher is not giving up on this. They haven't got long to go. It's going to come down to who's got a sprint on them. Has Cavado got enough left in the tank? Gallagher needs to kick and kick hard here. She comes into sight. I'm not sure she's going to be able to put anything else out there. Cavado is going to take this. So Cavado is going to go across. She's followed by through the line. So your top 5 riders in, all first category riders. We've got Gilson in 1, Bjarhead in 2, Bauer in 3, then it is Karut Cavado in 4, and Fiona Gallagher in 5. As you can see, only 3 teams with 1 rider finishing. Now the sprint is going to come. Who is going to take away top spot in the category 2 competition? It is with Jariana at the moment. So Jariana is going to be leading this in. I think she's going to take away first, second category rider, the top of the second category race. She does. Look at that now. Spartan Obstacles get 2 riders in, but they only have 2 riders in the race. They can't take that team competition. The Tri-Women have Martina and Alicia in there. Alicia taking away 9th place. It's Kara for Spartan Obstacles in 8th, and Martina Jariani in for 7th. Carly Francis in 6th. Fiona Gallagher in 5. Now, Julie Sanchez, Jenny Sanchez, both on the way into the finish. I think it's going to be Jenny who's going to be our next finisher. So Jenny Sanchez going through in 10th place as second category rider. Now it is going to be here because it's going to be seeing Julie Sanchez, Elodie Reynard going in and through the line. So it is very, very quick as these riders come in. Strong women also finishing 2 riders in Julie and Jenny. So fantastic racing here today. If you want to find out who takes away the team winning the competition, where you rode and where you finished, to jump on to the MyWhoosh website. That's www.mywhoosh.com. And don't forget, of course, to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're going to be back next week, and that is going to be for qualification round number 4, the final chance for our riders to qualify and get 2 rides in before we get into the finish. So from me, Matt Payne, from everybody behind the scenes and all of the gang up at Eurobike, thank you very much for watching. Stay safe, and we'll see you again soon.